I know that in the beginning of these, I usually provide like a good reason that I want to make something, but I don't have one for this. I just really want to make a... Okay, I have a presentation now, so everyone has to pay attention. Olivia, pay attention. All right, this is the old tape dispenser, all right? It's dumb. It feels weird in my hands. It makes me kind of sweaty, and I'm not sure why. It's too safe. This can't even cut me, this little tooth. It's lame, I hate it. This, though, it's called a chop saw. You might also know it as a miter saw. It's cool, it's awesome. It makes me sweaty also, but in a good way, all right? So my goal is to cut tape with this, but this one's too big. I need to make it smaller, then I can cut tape with it. The end. Thank you for attending. You can take my card on the way out. It's design time. Okay, so here's the initial design. I started drawing it in 3D and I drew the base part in 3D, but I didn't draw the saw part because it would have taken too long. It's just an electric saw, but much smaller. Let me explain each part in detail. You ready? This is the whole side view, so there's no side saw. I hope all of that made sense. Now, before I started working on the actual saw, I had to test to make sure that a 3D printed blade could actually slice through tape at all. So that's what I'm designing here. So I modeled and printed this little saw blade, and it's not like crazy sharp, it's not dangerous sharp, but it does feel about as sharp as like a tape dispenser blade would be. So I can put it on this motor and make sure it goes the right way. Let's see. Yep, that's it. So yeah, that's got some power behind it for sure. We'll see though if it's enough to cut this. I'm just gonna hold this. Jeez. Oh. That worked pretty well. At this point, it was clear that my idea would work, but I still hadn't modeled the rest of my design, so that's what I did next. Now, I've started CAD modeling a little bit of the dispenser, and I can already tell that this is going to be a project where I'm just on the computer the whole time. And I'm a little bit split because part of me knows that, well, this isn't the most interesting thing to look at, but I also feel like it's an important part of the process. So I'm just gonna put this here. Cool? Okay. Got the base modeled out, and I've got the saw blade itself. So after a few days, I had finally finished modeling my first version of the miter saw. And I'll be honest, there was a part where I was starting to hate CAD modeling. Starting to hate this. But now that I was done modeling it, I could print it. Now, let's say you want to 3D print custom parts just like I do, but you don't actually have a 3D printer. Well, that's where today's sponsor, PCBYAY, comes in. If you've heard of PCBYAY before, you probably know about their custom PCBs. But they actually also do custom 3D printing and custom CNC machining, so like metal parts. In fact, I used PCBYAY to enhance my project later in the video, but you'll have to stick around to see that. My favorite part about PCBYAY is just how customizable everything is. For instance, when ordering CNC machining, I could choose everything from the exact material to the surface roughness of the part. It's the definition of custom. So thanks to PCBYAY for sponsoring the video, and back to what you were just watching just now, the thing from before. So now that everything was printed, I could actually make my first prototype. All right, so I've got all the parts printed. We have this base, which I've already put the battery pack in. These two parts, which make up the saw, this little like blade guard thing, and then obviously the saw itself. I also have prepared some other things that I'll be using later. Before I can actually put any of this together, I have to solder wires to these smaller bits. Sometimes when I'm doing a lot of soldering, people ask me why I wear a mask. And it's because once, before I wore a mask, I was soldering something a lot, like for many days, for like hours. And I was inhaling all those fumes. And I use lead-free solder, so it's just an irritant. I got a bloody nose every day for like 5 days after that, after I wasn't wearing a mask. Because that was a little bit concerning for sure. Come on. This wire broke off. Okay, first iteration, I guess, will not have a button. Now we're gonna glue this in. Where did I put my glue? This glue is on its last legs. Oh, look at that. I found another almost completely empty thing of glue. Notice that I said almost completely empty. Yes. Put a little bit there. Okay, we'll leave that to cure for a little bit. Realize that I glued this together before putting in the motor. So, motor, look at that, boom. Update, I put in the motor, but I just realized I forgot to put in the saw blade. Needs to spin that way. Yeah. The blade fits, so that's good. Now the guard, besides, I guess, technically protecting your fingers, is pretty much just for looks. This axle goes through the back. Have a rubber band which acts as a spring to pull the saw back. Bands to here. Okay, yeah, that feels about right. So now that I had my first prototype, I just had to make further iterations of that prototype. Basically, I would just fix little issues with it, like the saw wiggled too much or something, and so then I printed like 3 different versions until I finally got the dimensions right. So we're gonna skip to the part where I got everything right. So now I'm gonna test it on, I think, a little piece of tape. Now's also a good time to mention that if you like this project, I'm actually selling the printing files on Patreon. So if you have a 3D printer, you can make a saw of your own, but more on that later. I've got some Scotch tape here. Now, I wasn't exactly sure that this would work. Let me explain why. Hey guys, just a quick note. I was pretty sick when I recorded this, so sorry that I look like very dead and tired. I was testing the motor, it ran at 2 amps using 3 volts. Now, to understand the difference between amps and volts, I'll use the water and pipe analogy, where the pipe is kind of like the wire that current is going through, and the water in the pipe is kind of like the current. So here, the amperage is like the amount of water going through the pipe, and voltage is like the water pressure in the pipe. So basically, I needed to give this motor 3 volts and 2 amps. But I also had to power it with batteries. That's why I wasn't sure that it would work, because each AA battery gave out 1.5 volts, and by putting them in series with each other, meaning one led to the other, the voltage is added, so it did create 3 volts, but I wasn't sure that the batteries could output 2 amps. So I Googled it, and I was glad to see that a AA battery could output 2 amps. But also, that was the answer that the Google AI gave me. So basically, if this saw cuts tape, we know that AI is always right and can definitely be trusted. Yeah, nice, it worked. The AI was right. Honestly, I think I trust AI with everything now, and I'm pretty sure it's time to invest. So at this point, I'm pretty confident with the model and the functionality of the saw. Obviously, I need to tighten up some of these wires. Those are things I'll worry about later. For now, I'm gonna make the tape dispenser piece. And also, I've looked a lot online, and I'm pretty confident that this is actually the world's smallest miter saw. So I'm technically a world record holder. Well, that's kind of a stretch, isn't it? What do you mean? This is, by definition, the world's smallest working miter saw. Well, what about this one? That one isn't working, okay, mine works. Okay, what about this one? This one works. Okay, that's a circular saw. So, a circular saw and a miter saw are 2 very different things, okay? I made the world's smallest miter saw. I have a world record, barely. Shut up! I need this world record. I need this. Okay. What was I saying? Let's go, it's time to make the tape dispenser piece. I'm honestly so excited. So here's me making it, and then here's it printing, and then I test it out. I put the tape there, and so then, you know, now it's holding the tape. So it cuts the tape, and then here's another view of it cutting the tape. So it's really cool. Oh my gosh, and then yeah, I love this shot here of it cutting tape. I'll admit, as I was using it, I just felt like it was missing something. It felt a bit underwhelming, you know, it did what it was made to do, but I just knew that it could do more. I mean, it was plenty dangerous. I just wanted it to be more destructive. And that's where PCBYAY comes in. Remember how I said that PCBYAY helped me bring my project to the next level? Well, PCBYAY actually sent me this CNC machined steel saw blade that I designed. So here I am in the garage. Now here's our piece. Apparently the government said that you can't send weapons over international borders. So that would make this project technically illegal. This doesn't actually have a sharpened edge. Okay, technically not illegal, which means now I get to sharpen it myself. A bit of an edge. I'm not gonna record this whole thing. Okay, so I've got the metal piece sharpened. I'm about to assemble one of these for the 4th time. Maybe I can do like a bunch of supercuts, so it's like and then it's done, you know what I mean? Like, so this thing sounds a lot scarier now, looks a lot scarier, and also it's got like a rumble. Try it, just regular tape. You know what? No, screw this. I've watched this thing cut enough Scotch tape. What's next? Oh, electrical tape, here we go. This is something that the other plastic blade could not cut, but I didn't show it because I was too embarrassed. And it handled that without issue. So now that we know it can cut all kinds of tape, I guess it's time to cut some other stuff, like, I don't know, in some sort of like montage. I have an idea of something really cool to cut in half. Come here, yep, oh, there we go, thanks. Got it. Okay, we're gonna make the regular stupid tape dispenser get destroyed by the big, awesome, epic tape dispenser. Well, that didn't do much, but it does now smell like burning plastic, so. Well, I think the invention's a success, so now it's time to get investors.
Next into the tank is a guy who walks kind of weird and doesn't know exactly where to look.
Sharks, the modern tape dispenser is stupid. It looks lame, and it's not even that dangerous. So here's why I invented a proper solution. I'll offer you $3 for a 50% stake. No steak, please. I'm vegetarian. All right, well, I think that's enough of that. This video is over. So once again, if you want to make this saw for yourself, you can download the files to print on my Patreon. So you will need a 3D printer, but I actually provide pretty detailed instructions as well as an itemized list of exactly what you'll need. And then, sorry this video took a while. I am a child and children are typically in school. So that's what I'm doing for a lot of the time. And then one quick thank you to both my patrons and my friend Porter for helping me come up with this idea for this project. But that's all. Okay, bye.